Hi and welcome back. With transphobia entering politics and the claim that people don't want trans people to use the bathroom, despite 99% of people couldn't care less. The irony to all of this is the reason why we had separate toilets, e.g. men and women, was never about safety. It was actually because women were seen as the lesser in a misogynistic society. Prior to 1739, men and women shared the toiletries. Also, it was authorities that wanted separate spaces, not women, as neither men nor women were trusted, and they did not want to give them a chance to have premarital sex. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Public restrooms are an essential part of our everyday lives, serving sorry, I've got a bit of chest. It's a basic necessity for individuals everywhere. However, the segregation of restrooms based on gender has recently been a topic of discussion and debate. The division into men's and women's restrooms is deeply rooted in social norms and historical biases, raising questions about its connection to misogyny. This short video aims to explore the historical context, arguments surrounding segregated restrooms, and the potential link to gender-based oppression and discrimination. The concept of gender-segregated toilets has been prevalent for centuries and can be traced back to social norms that emerged during the Victorian era. No surprise there. During this era, there was a strong emphasis on maintaining gender roles and preserving the perceived purity of women. Gosh, heaven forbid that thou should get horny whilst taking a shit. These values carried over into the design of the public spaces, including restrooms. As a result, separate facilities were created to ensure that men and women had their respective spaces, perpetuating the idea that women needed protection and seclusion, albeit not from rape, but one could say from lust or sin. The right-wing and religious groups have argued that their attitudes are rooted in safety, privacy, and the comfort of individuals. They believe that separate facilities provide a level of comfort and security for women, allowing them to avoid potential harassment or discomfort in the presence of men, or in this case, trans women, who aren't viewed as real women. Oddly enough, no one mentions trans men, and also ignore the fact that trans women have used the bathrooms for years with the support of women and the feminist movement. And attacks by even men in the toilets is rare. There's little to no evidence that this is occurring enough to cause any major concern. Additionally, they argue that segregated toilets ensure privacy, especially in situations wherein individuals may require assistance from others, such as parents accompanying young children or people with disabilities, albeit these groups are in no danger from the trans community, and even some have pointed out that it's odd that segregated disabled toilets show signs of stigma towards, in many ways, the disabled. Critics argue that the division of toilets based on gender reflects and reinforces broader societal inequalities and prejudices, particularly misogyny. Trans women weren't the first to experience this. Black women had their own separate toilets, as they were seen as lesser beings and not women. They argue that the practice assumes that men pose a threat to women's safety, perpetuating the idea that women need to be protected from men. This assumption can indirectly contribute to the marginalisation and oppression of women by reinforcing gender stereotypes and limitations, but no one has mentioned men, they've only mentioned trans women, who these bigots see, obviously, as men. Furthermore, the segregation of restrooms based on a binary understanding of gender excludes individuals who do not conform to the traditional male-female categorizations. This exclusion mostly targets transgender and non-binary individuals who may find themselves forced to choose between facilities that do not align with their gender identity. This can lead to feelings of isolation, discrimination, and a denial of their rights to exist in public spaces comfortably, spaces they've used for decades, unabated and without complaint. In recent years, there has been a growing movement advocating for gender-neutral restrooms. These facilities aim to create inclusive spaces that are accessible for all genders, addressing the concerns of safety, privacy, and discrimination. Gender-neutral restrooms provide an opportunity to challenge the traditional binary understanding of gender, fostering a more inclusive and accepting society. Albeit, the irony is that not only have the trans community used toilets for decades, but we've had unisex toilets for 23 plus years already with no issues. Also, according to planners, unisex toilets are more efficient. I'm currently working on a video exploring the history of unisex toilets, so keep an eye out on that for that one. The division of toilets based on gender is deeply rooted in historical and societal norms. While bigots argue that segregated restrooms provide safety and privacy, whilst other critics contend that they perpetuate gender-based oppression and reinforce misogyny. After all, as I just mentioned, it was more about not trusting both men and women not to keep their hands off to themselves than it ever was about safety. I don't know about you, but the last thing on my mind is sex when taking a dump. The push for gender-neutral restrooms offers a chance to challenge and dismantle these antiquated, outdated norms, promoting inclusivity and redefining societal understandings of gender. It is crucial to engage in ongoing conversations to create public spaces that are safe, inclusive, and respectful of all individuals, regardless of their gender identity. But I've noticed that despite the word feminist, if TERFs have their own way, they'd be pushing back women's equality pre-suffragette stage. Because if we look at history, misogyny, not safety, is the culprit behind segregated spaces, and the idea that lust and sin will cause men and women to fornicate. Well, we don't need to share a toilet. We don't need to share a toilet to do that. Unfortunately, this issue has not been made by or brought up by the public. Just like the years of black and white segregation, this whole matter has only recently came to be in order to target and victimize the trans women of society who not only have fought for LGBT rights but women's rights, also hand in hand with their cisgender sisters. Thanks for watching, take care and be well.